Right, so this Saturday, on the eve of Labour Party conference, as Keir Starmer leaves his Westminster bubble and heads to Liverpool, where I sincerely hope he gets a proper Scouse welcome, back in London, activists opposed to Starmer's Tory-litism and incessant lies are kicking off their concerted opposition to him. And it really does say an awful lot about how widely the man is detested by ordinary working class political activists, that even before he's managed to reach a position of power, protests are now beginning to spring up to remove him. And not only that, but separate groups that have independently appeared in order to do so are now joining forces and unifying in that common goal, which is to see Starmer lose his seat at the next general election, thereby removing the threat to the country, equal if not more so to that presented by Rishi Sunak and his blue Tories that a Starmer-led government presents. Right, so Keir Starmer, Sir Kid Starmer, goodness knows regular viewers know I'm no fan, but I'm far from alone in that either. And come this Saturday, 7th of October, moves to bring Starmer down begin. If you want to be a part of that, well, you'll need to get yourself down to Mornington Crescent Tube Station by 11 a.m. and join in with the launch of this. You see, while Starmer disappears to his heavily clamped down on conference in Liverpool, where he is also readily despised, unforgiven for writing incessantly for Rupert Murdoch and his scum rag, a conference where delegates have already been told what they can and cannot talk about, what they can and cannot bring motions on, certain policy aspects, giving an insight into the authoritarian and dictatorial aspects of Starmer's administration and how they would in all likelihood run the country too. Those opposed to being gagged like that, those who will talk about such things whether Starmer likes it or not, but above all else talking about how to bring this man and what he stands for, whatever that happens to be from one minute to the next, down, begins in his own constituency of Holborn and St Pancras whilst he's not home. Now this event is a venture between two anti-Starmer organisations, Stop Starmer and Okiza, and it's been organised by not the Andrew Marr Show host Crispin Flintoff. Stop Starmer began as a group of people who see Starmer for what he is, are fearful of the sort of country, the kind of rule we'll see if he ends up elected to power, and with much of the media giving Starmer the softest of soft rides, implying he very much is the establishment choice now. They are committed to getting the word out about him in ways the media refuse to, except for media outlets on the left who are also under Starmer, not least of which includes mouthpieces like me. Okiza, they're focused on Starmer's constituency in and of itself. They are absolutely on the same page as Stop Starmer. They are organising to stop Starmer from being re-elected as MP for Holborn and St Pancras. Stop the Tories and any other neoliberal party from winning there as well, because the country is going down that right-wing dominated drain and far too many people are sleepwalking into that because they aren't being made aware. They aren't hearing what Starmer is doing, how he's acting, except what they get drip-fed selectively by newspapers and the TV and radio media. Neither of these organisations are political parties in themselves, nor do they wish to be. They are not standing for election themselves. It's great to see this joint venture happening between two distinct groups who happen to share a common goal. They are just two groups of ordinary people fighting for change to be elected instead, refusing to accept another mealy-mouthed, empty suit, in it for the paycheck and not the work that needs doing. And by taking out Starmer as the Labour leader, by focusing on him, it will send an important message to the rest of the Labour Party that they need to think again about trying to carry on in this vein regardless. Be warned, Labour right. So if that sounds like something fair and reasonable, you've got spare time in your hands on Saturday morning, get your backside down to Mornington Crescent Tube Station. Think about it this way. You might read alternative media or watch videos like mine and know a bit about Starmer and be on to him a bit, but we're in the minority here. National polling shows we are definitely in the minority here. Unless you literally are pointing out to people the sheer lack of principles he has, the belief that Labour must be better than the Tories, and we need to vote Labour to get the Tories out, will remain an ingrained thought amongst most of the populace. The 10 pledges he made to get elected Labour leader, how many people do you know realise he's binned every single last one of them? How many think he's still on the left, the heir to Corbyn, rather than the self-proclaimed Blair on steroids he now claims to be? Put someone on the spot and ask what policies he has, and you'll struggle to find anyone who has a clue, really. Most of them he won't tell us. Others he's bidding on the basis he claims we can't afford them any longer. Starmer stands up and says what he thinks people want to hear at any one given time, and then backtracks when it no longer matters, when it's not politically expedient to him any longer. Renationalisation of energy and water, house building, reversing the privatisation that has happened in our NHS, improving rights for disabled people. He's backtracked on every last one of those and a heck of a lot more. He was until recently a member of the Trilateral Commission, which is an organisation that believes there is such a thing as too much democracy. And when you see his authoritarianism within his own party, it isn't hard to see why he fitted in with them so well. But so many people don't know this or can't see it. He purports to stand for the party of the workers, yet prefers to hang out at the World Economic Forum than be in Westminster. His words. He once stood up and said the buck stops with him, but the buck never stops with him. He always blames someone else, including over such incidents as Jimmy Savile, despite him ordering a review of the case in 2011. So he was involved directly in that case, albeit later, as Director of Public Prosecutions. In fact, there are many glaring questions to ask of his time as DPP, working with US and British intelligence, persisting in the attempted extradition of Julian Assange, exonerating the Met over the killing of Jean-Charles de Menezes, and rule changes within the Crown Prosecution Service, largely seen as pointless by the very people that work there. And it all brings into question his competence as a leader. Since taking over as Labour leader, he has purged those he disagrees with, turning the Labour Party into a rump of what it once was, and those left are largely nodding yes men, sacking and deselecting MPs who challenge him, are not on the right, suspending others, taking over local party organisation, killing off the good work many have been doing in their communities, and blocking local members choosing who represents them, inflicting right-wingers upon them, whether they like it or not. He has already pledged to support any US foreign invasion or war, just as his idol Tony Blair did before him. He remains advised by Blairites, and the most notable of those has been the mate of Jeffrey Epstein, Peter Mandelson. He has weaponised anti-Semitism to within an inch of its life, doing enormous damage to the fight against the real thing, and is in favour of clamping down on free speech, especially online, meaning critics in the media who are supporting the likes of Stop Starmer and O'Keefe could end up stopped themselves. And the public as a whole will be forcibly dumbed down again in another war on woke, with the only news allowed being that which Starmer permits to exist. So much of this, I'm sure you who are watching this will know already, but so many people out there, so many more than just few, do not. So first and foremost, please share this video so more people can see it and get the word out about this event. But the biggest thing people can do is get out there on Saturday and join that campaign. Also, join up to Stop Starmer at stopstarmer.co.uk and O'Keefe at okeefe.org.uk. And this is really important, because the biggest weapon these groups have, that we all have, against Starmer and his media friends and his established interests, is ourselves. Well, Starmer lacks, through his own actions, through driving so many members and supporters of the Labour Party away, it's the one thing the Labour Party has always previously been able to rely on, and that is its ground game. That is boots on the ground. That is having conversations. That is manning street stalls. That is posting leaflets through letterboxes. And remember, this is all about targeting one MP in one seat. It's quite a concentrated effort. It's about one constituency being warned about their particular MP, who just happens to also be the leader of the Labour Party and potentially the next Prime Minister. Because that one-on-one approach, that personal approach, well, it doesn't matter how many times he might go on TV or his acolytes will and defend him and promote him. Word of mouth with the people who actually vote for him, where it matters, cuts through far harder, much deeper, makes a much greater impression. Mornington Crescent Tube Station, Saturday the 7th of October, 11 a.m. If Starmer strikes you as a wrong 'un, if he scares you, if you fear he'll just preside over another Tory government, you can get there. Don't regret not going and be part of it. Be part of forcing a change the whole country will be grateful to you for.